Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you live from Corner of the Galaxy Studios on Thursday, December 13th. A busy day, to say the very least, with the LA Galaxy, especially the busy last couple hours. So a bunch of things to get into. We have expansion and waiver drafts to talk about, the offseason calendar to Kloese officially announced, the stubby is out and the diggity is in, and Porter news that is downright crazy, and a bunch of different narratives coming to fruition there. All right, so we have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to, and before we do any of that, let's welcome back. By the way, this is our last live show hasn't been in almost a month, probably. So it's almost like I don't even know what I'm doing for half of this stuff. But welcome to the studio, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going very well. I'm glad to be back. It has been way too long. I think it was right before the season finale. The unfortunate ending to our LA Galaxy season was our last live show. So when you brought me into the fold, I was told that we'd have an off season. There is no off season. It has been crazy.
That's not how this works. Listen, I will tell everybody right now, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but it's the only place I can keep track of anything. So it's probably the best place for you to keep track of everything. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can go to the LA Galaxy offseason draft transaction and rumor tracker. Click that. I'll try to keep it as close to the top of the page as possible, but sometimes it gets bumped down for other news. But whenever there's an update, sometimes I bump it back up to the top and keep an eye. But you go down there, and at the very top, it tells you when the last time it was updated, and then it tells you what was updated the last time and when that was. Okay,
and that's why the people love you, Josh.
Yes.
Because I will tell you, if you haven't gone to cornerofthegalaxy.com and bookmarked that, you need to do so because it's right there up top. Yeah, you will need to scroll to get to the info, but it tells you what's new when it was added. So if you're going to toot your own horn, I'm going to toot your horn.
Wow.
We're going to toot everybody's horn tonight.
Easy.
Everybody gets a horn too.
It's a family show. It's a family show. No, it absolutely is. So it's a good place to start, and that's actually where most of my stuff is going to come from, is talking about that as well. So listen, there's clearly some crazy Caleb Porter news. I know that most people are probably happy with this news. I don't know. We got to tease it because again, the good information, I try to tell Kevin this all the time. Okay. You bury the good information, right? We want you to listen to minute, 35 at least to get to the really good stuff. And I'm not saying that's where it is, so don't try jumping ahead. But, you got to do something in order to get closer to that,
got to
right?
earn it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to get there. And the Caleb Porter news is way more twisty and turny than everything we have. We have multiple narratives being played out on Twitter and across two clubs and one coach and a front office and stuff. And so it's going to be too much fun.
I was like, these are exciting times. There are times when I've been here and we've, hemmed and hawed and said, well, how are we going to get through an hour? Are we going to be able to fill this? And we always are able to do it. But today is one of those days where you could probably do a 2 or 3 hour show talking about everything that's just developed in the last few hours.
Yeah.
Because it can go in so many different directions.
It is. So we're going to go down this a little bit. We're going to start with the expansion and waiver drafts because quite honestly, we can cruise through this in about 30 seconds.
4 years ago.
It feels like it was 4 years ago. Certainly, the expansion draft was held on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, yeah. Tuesday was the day where I went into work. I thought I was going to get work done. And then expansion draft and it's a Kloese getting announced. So, yeah, expansion draft was Tuesday. Definitely is when it happened because I remember that day being crazy.
Yeah, it was. That was another crazy day. There was rumors all over the place. That includes the Juninho rumors, which I'll talk about here in a little bit as well. So, I mean, we're going to get you updated on all the rumors. But the expansion draft and waiver drafts, and the reason that we can plow right through these is, one, I'll tell you off the top, the LA Galaxy didn't pick anyone in either of those drafts. Granted, they weren't allowed to pick anybody in the expansion draft, but nobody got picked from the LA Galaxy in the expansion draft, something we told you was very likely. Darren Maddox from DC United, Kai Kamara from the Vancouver Whitecaps, Roland Lamah from FC Dallas, Eric Alexander from Houston Dynamo, and Hassan Nadam from New York Red Bull were the 5 expansion picks for FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati traded Kai Kamara to Colorado for an international slot and some other things, I think. So that was really the only interesting stuff. And FC Cincinnati's been signing a whole bunch of players and making moves. If you're interested in FC Cincinnati, go ahead and follow them and do it.
On the heels of that expansion draft, they also got Greg Garza in exchange for some Gam and Tam, everyone's favorite. So
little Jam Tam.
Yeah, they were able to get someone who just won an MLS Cup on their roster.
Is this another thing where it's like GIF and GIF, where Jam and Gam?
I thought it was Gam.
It's not. It's general allocation money, so it's Jam.
Okay.
Even though I guess it's
fun.
supposed to be GIF, by the way, too, which is just stupid
No,
and
it's
ridiculous.
not.
Yeah, I
It'll
know.
be GIF forever.
It's GIF. It's always GIF. Okay. Anyway, so you go to the results of the waiver draft, and the waiver draft doesn't have anything very exciting either.
We had our fingers crossed, like Siani. Not that we were going to get him back anyway.
It doesn't really matter. That's the bottom line. The MLS waiver draft results: the Chicago Fire picked 2 players, LAFC picked 1 player, New York Red Bulls. Let's see. Yeah, New York Red Bulls picked a player as well. So Marcus Epps from Philadelphia Union and New York Red Bulls, Christian Martinez from the Columbus Crew to the Chicago Fire, Marco Arena from LAFC to Chicago Fire, and Ricky Lopez Espin from Real Salt Lake to LAFC. So again, no big names. You weren't expected to. And who exactly is available for the waiver draft? Oh, those are all the people who aren't eligible for the re-entry draft. So yeah, I know. This is like MLS.
It's MLS keeps on MLSing.
Yeah, always. So that, of course, gets us to our off-season calendar update. I want to make sure that you're up and prepared for this. If you head over to our tracker there, you can go to the MLS Re-Entry Draft, which will take place on December 14th. So we're recording on 13th, the night of. At 12 p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow on Friday, they will have the first stage of the MLS Re-Entry Draft. The Re-Entry Draft is really made up of players who had their options declined or they're out of contract and they're eligible for the quote-unquote Re-Entry Draft. So that's the ones that you sort of want to look at. From the LA Galaxy, that includes Ashley Cole, Ari Lassiter, and Brian Silvestri. So those are the 3 players that could possibly be picked by somebody else. Listen, Ashley Cole ain't getting picked. No, it doesn't matter in stage 1 or stage 2 because Ashley Cole ain't playing in MLS next year. Ari Lassiter and Brian Silvestri, maybe.
I can see someone maybe going after Lassiter.
But here's the thing. They're not going after him in this stage 1.
Yeah.
They're going to go after him in stage 2. And the
the
difference between stage 1 stage 2 re-entry draft, just in case you care, most people are already falling asleep.
We're waiting for that hot Caleb Porter news.
Caleb Porter. We're so mean to Kevin. He
we
tries.
Love Kevin. We love.
He
Kevin.
tries, even with the Zlatan Ibrahimovic and all that stuff. But the panda tries for his pronunciations. He's
doing the Lord's work.
He misses a lot. So the stage 1 and stage 2. Basically, stage 1 says that if you pick a player in stage 1, you pick them up at their option decline. So whatever that option year was that the club declined, you pick them up at that. There's no negotiating. You say, "Yep, that's a good deal for us. We take you at your $225,000 that the LA Galaxy declined, and now we're going to pay it for you right now. No questions asked. Easy." Re-entry draft, the stage 2, which will happen in another week, which takes place on December 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Stage 2, you get to pick the person, and then you get to negotiate their contract. So you get the rights to that person, and you get to negotiate once you give them a bona fide contract offer. You get their rights. So that's sort of the difference between those two. Usually, maybe 1 or 2 players picked in stage 1. And then more players usually picked in stage 2.
Usually someone who, if their option isn't wildly expensive and it's someone who you think that another club might go after, that you want to secure them, that's the purpose of that first phase. So I think the majority of these players, if you were to scroll down this list, these seem like guys who you probably wouldn't want to pay full value. You might want to renegotiate. So I'd be very surprised if I saw more than 2 or 3 of these guys go in the first round.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. So we don't expect a lot of movement in first. We'll expect more movement, but it's always less than I think people think there's going to be in the second.
It's a big list, but not a lot happens with this list.
If they don't get picked in either of those, they kind of almost become free agents where they're able to negotiate, but they're not. That's ridiculous. There's no such thing as free agency. Even the free agents aren't free agents in Major League Soccer. So anyway, that's what you have coming up. Draft 1 takes place on 12/14/2018 at 12 p.m. Pacific time. A complete list of the players available is on the website, so you can head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com and click on that tracker. Results of that will, of course, for some reason, be posted on the website. I just like to torture myself, so that'll be up there, and you can get that. And then stage 2 takes place again on December 20th. So that's where you are right now in terms of the off-season calendar and what you can expect very soon about the LA Galaxy and sort of what's going around. And the good news for the LA Galaxy, Eric, is that they now have a general manager who is confirmed, although we were certainly working on that.
World's worst kept
I
secret.
was going to say, I said, and people were like, it wasn't really the world. Yeah, it was. Like we had known for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he had a conference call which we're going to talk about as well. And so we get our first sort of impressions of Dennis Kloese. And by the way, correct pronunciation, Dennis Kloese.
So that means all my close puns out the window.
Well,
had a whole bunch of these. It still plays, but it's not the same
because it's still Kloese. Like hold me closer, Tony Danza. Like that. To Kloese. Yeah, I was just setting out. Thank you for teeing that one up. That was perfect.
Hey, that's why I'm here.
Okay. So Kloese was officially announced as general manager. What you're going to find at the end of this is great. This is great. You're going to love this. What you're going to find at the end of this is the complete unedited conference call with Dennis Kloese. I will put that at the end of this podcast. You're going to hear the music at the end.
That's a tease.
Now, isn't it?
People listen to this at work and they say, you know what? I'm going to skip my conference call and I'm going to listen to another conference call.
Yeah, just play it through your phone audio. Just be like, put it on speakerphone and be like, oh, I'm on a conference call right now. Sorry.
That's actually a smart move.
Yeah, I know. That's good.
Pro tip.
So it'll be on there. So you'll hear the music at the end. If you just hang on, it'll go, which will mean this podcast ends up being probably about an hour and 45 minutes long or something like that, because it's a 45-minute conference call with the last 2 or 3 questions in Spanish. If you're a Spanish speaker, you can figure those out. But we did get to talk to him. So Kloese confirmed. We got to talk to him. And you got to see some videos of him, and you've now seen sort of other people. What are you thinking about Dennis Kloese right now as it goes, and without trying to go into the Porter news, which we're going to talk about?
I'm just going to go takeaways that I have based on what I've been hearing about him, from the podcast here, what I've been reading about him. It seemed like this was definitely the guy who you want as your president of soccer operations or general manager or whatever the official title was. The resume was there, coming from a national team, coming from Mexico, having MLS experience. He seemed to check all the boxes. And then the Galaxy on their website and on their social media, they also released some short video clips, about 2 minutes of Kloese speaking. And he said all the right things there too. So I feel really, really good about him as a general manager. Some things that he said that just stand out. I wrote down some quotes. I will defend the colors with everything that is within me. So that just says he understands what the fans want. He understands the weight of the role and what's expected of him. He said the club needs a strong identity. It needs to be clear with where it stands. They've always brought in the high name players, but on the other end, he believes that in this area, Southern California, there's lots of talent that can still be tapped into and taken much more advantage of. And so when he said that, that's where I just, got out of my chair, jumped up and down, because that's something that I've actually always had a gripe with the Galaxy and even the U.S. Soccer Federation. Southern California, growing up here, being around here, and you know this from growing up in the area, I honestly believe that there's enough talent in Southern California to field a national team caliber team, a team that can compete with our U.S. national team just in Southern California. But the $1 million question is, how are you going to tap into that? How are you going to figure that out? No one's been able to figure out that puzzle, because the talent is definitely here, but it's how do we tap into it? And Kloese seems like someone who has a vision for that. He understands from a scouting perspective where to go and where to look. And so to me, once he said that, and understanding the weight of the role, weight of the club, what they do with big players, but then also accepting that we're in Southern California and this is a hotbed. This is a place where it's excellent to play soccer and there's talent here, and being able to develop that, I think he said in a developmental project, not just an academy.
Right.
That was the quote that really stood out. This isn't just putting players into an academy. He has a whole project in mind. And so to me, I feel like they hit it out of the park with Kloese. He really seems like the guy.
Yeah, and not only that, but he talked about, picking up where he left off, Eric, which is the dude was responsible for the Chivas USA academies that the LA Galaxy eventually inherited whenever Chivas USA folded and LAFC didn't ever want for a while there. Chivas USA was sort of floating. The academies were floating in no man's land and could have possibly been poached by LAFC and weren't. So the LA Galaxy poached them and poached all these amazing young talents. Where you talk like Efrain Alvarez, Julian Yanez, those guys really got started in that sort of Chivas USA academy.
Was Bradford Jamison one of those?
I don't know if he was one at Chivas USA. He may have been, as a matter of fact. He may have been. I'd have to go back and look. I'd have to ask. So anyway.
But the bottom line, the Galaxy benefited from the work that Kloese had done.
And now he's coming into a position where he's able to make that, and it feels like his goal is broad. This is a broad look. This guy's big picture dude. He's talking about academies at all levels. He's talking about LA Galaxy 2. He's talking about senior team. He's talking about that alignment between those. I really like that. He's also going to look at senior team stuff, and he has to work on salary cap. And I specifically asked the question to Dennis about whether or not he felt like he had enough room to maneuver in 2019, knowing the LA Galaxy will be cash strapped and salary cap strapped going into 2019, which they are. Don't be fooled by anything that you see. The LA Galaxy will be salary cap restricted in 2019, and some of that's going to come from raises that guys are going to get. And whenever the first salary list comes out, there's gonna some of y'all are gonna be scratching your heads. All right, so that's something to keep an eye on and understand that there's gonna be guys who you don't think played a significant role in 2018 that are gonna get significantly more money than they did starting. And I think Jorgen Skjelvik's tapped out. I don't think he's getting any more. Who knows?
You'd be surprised.
He might get a little more.
There were some serious bumps in those last salary releases. So if he started there, every single salary does go up. I see very few that stay at the same level. So
usually there's an increase. Yeah, there's an increase. And that's how it is in a contract too. Yeah. First year is worth this much, second year is worth a little bit more, and third year the option is worth way more. So no, you get all those things. So I mean, that's the thing. So and he said he felt like he didn't want to put judgment, and I didn't mean to put him in the position to have to speak about the failures of the years before, because he's certainly not going to sit there and dump on the guys who came before him. That's just, he's not going to do that. As a guy who's coming in who has the job now, you play nice and you're like, hey.
But also, I think when you hear his comments and you listen to that conference call and you see what he says, he's not doing it directly. He's obviously, being polite and not directly saying there's this, but he's acknowledging flaws. And the comments that he's making and what he wants to do indirectly points out the failures that the Galaxy have had over the past few seasons.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That makes a whole bunch of sense. So, no, but he said, basically without sort of throwing anybody under the bus, that they have some things they have to do, and he's going to have to get creative. Whenever he says he has to get creative for me, that means he's like, we're going to have to think outside the box here.
It's a polite way of the emoji siren going off.
Yeah, so that's that was sort of my impressions. I think that I was told that he is much more expressive in Spanish than he is in English, which would make sense. The guy has spent a significant amount of time in Mexico as the director of the Mexican national teams, and that's not just team, that's teams with an S, including the younger teams, the U17s, the U20s. I mean, across top to bottom, all those guys. I really like him as an organizer. I think he's exactly what the Galaxy need in terms of that. I think that he thought we were going to be a little harder on him than we were.
Well, coming from Mexico and the expectations that are there, he was probably I agree. He was probably expecting some sharper tools coming at him.
There's another thing that I was trying to explain to people is that as Galaxy reporters, we've never had to deal specifically with the general manager. You have Bruce Arena, who was the head coach and GM, and so he spoke for everything so that was easy, and you could talk to him and whole deal. But Pete Vianis was MIA for the entire time he was quote-unquote general manager or VP. He wouldn't talk to people. He pretended this is my assumption. I don't want to throw him under the bus.
Hey, he's gone.
He but he could still be like, hunt me down or something like that outside. He could be banging on the glass outside the studio. But Pete pretended to be on the phone all the time. If he would walk by anybody, he was always on the phone. Phone was up to his ear.
That's a smart move, actually. If you're walking around the stadium,
right? I do that all the time. So I mean, so you didn't have an open dialogue with him about GM things, and quite honestly, GM things are technical. They're about rules. They're about salary caps. They're about moving players. I mean, there's some really detailed stuff that you have to get in with a GM, and quite honestly, Bruce Arena never wanted to deal with that. And never even...
It's not glamorous.
No.
It's not the glamorous part of the job.
No, so he didn't want to do it, but you always had other things to ask for Bruce. And then with Pete, again, not being there, not being able to ask questions, and quite honestly, not being open for the media. I mean, he didn't want to talk to anybody. You sort of had that dark black hole in there that the information was there, but you were never able to access it. So with Dennis, I think it's going to take us a little while to figure out what questions we have to ask Dennis in terms of GM questions and what we'll ask, whoever the coach ends up being.
And it's also still very early in his tenure. He's been there for a day, for 2 days. So I don't think any of the moves, there haven't been any moves that lie on him. So the tough questions aren't going to come because he hasn't made any moves yet. And so I think once those moves start getting made, then you'll understand the type of questions that will need to be asked of him. But the way he presented himself, And you mentioned it a little bit, and not to make fun of, to keep piling on Pete, but Pete, being a player, and I think being in front of the camera and addressing the media was probably not a forte of his. To Kloese, you could tell he is used to standing in front of a group of reporters or a group of people who are going to ask him questions, and he answered those questions with ease. He was very comfortable. He seems like he was going to be very honest, and I think this is, if he's going to be this transparent and honest with his answers, because he could have been even more political and said a whole lot of nothing while saying the right things, but he seemed to give concrete answers on what he wants to do. So it seems like there's going to be some honesty there, and he's going to have a comfort when discussing with the media.
I will share with you. Don't tell anybody else.
Okay, no one's listening.
I requested to have Dennis come on the show tonight. He was busy.
So you got me next.
So I got you. So I got you. But the bottom line is they were open to that idea. So we will work to get Dennis on the show, nice. And we will have an interview with him as soon as I can make it work. He's a busy guy. I understand it. I have a very small window of when I'm able to do things. Those windows have to match up in order for us to get a show. All that stuff. But it's the off season. I can usually squeeze in a show somewhere, after workouts or, before I get up in the morning or whatever. There's always room somewhere. So anyway, so that's Dennis Kloese. I am positive. I think that he is a good hire. Depending on how much power they give him and how much he's able to go in and change things without having to check in with anybody, he could be really good.
That's the real question.
And it's going to remain the real question. We're going to talk about Caleb Porter and whether or not Kloese had anything to do with Caleb Porter in this. And we're not going to get any great answers in terms of perfectly clear answers that were reported or anything else. So we will run through all the narratives when that comes. But we had another bit of news today. One that I should have been expecting because the contract was up, but it's one of those things you don't think about.
Under the radar.
6 years. 6 years is a long time. It seems
you didn't set your alarm on your iPhone?
I should have.
6 years from now.
I'm going to set
Remind me.
I'm going to set it for 10 years.
Set it for 10.
For 10 years. Anyway, StubHub Center will be renamed Dignity Health Sports Park. And
flows right off the tongue.
And we'll only have to say that like about a million. By the time this is over in 10 years, I will probably have it down where the LA Galaxy actually play. AEG signed a 10-year deal with Dignity Health for their naming rights and more to the currently named StubHub Center. The terms of the deal were not disclosed. Now, I asked why they weren't disclosed because if all the other deals have been disclosed, you found out how much money they were basically worth. There's something to do with this could possibly be, I don't know if this is a publicly traded company or if it's a private company.
Well, I think the fact that it has a connection to some hospitals and some healthcare.
Yeah, they can't tell it.
There might be some red tape that they need to go around. But we know they're not giving it away. They're paying for those rights.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Galaxy is not walking away without some type of some partnership or revenue from this.
Now, I know that everybody, short memories and all. Everybody's like, how could you change it from StubHub Center? And I remember when they changed it from Home Depot Center, and I was like, wait, what are they going to call it? And StubHub Center?
Yeah.
And how long did I say Home Depot Center?
I liked Home Depot Center. I like the HDC.
I was perfectly fine. That was fine. The bottom line is they all become fine. It's really what we find out because you called the HDC, you called Home Depot Center, then you called it, StubHub Center, then you called it the Stubby, if you want to, It's like they all just evolve into something.
It figures it out. It all works itself out. So, and I think that's the nature of sports or our business now.
And especially in North America, because everybody's going to compare this to, Old Trafford. And they're like, well, they don't have a naming rights deal for the state.
You're not Old Trafford.
Okay, well, you're not Old Trafford. If you go to like Wrigley Field, right? Wrigley Field is an old stadium and it's been around forever and blah blah blah. They don't have a naming rights deal, although they probably do like somewhere in there.
I'm sure it's there. Yeah, because I think to the Boston Garden, that didn't change, but it's now TD Bank, Boston Garden.
At Boston Garden,
it's something like that. So it's just the nature of the beast. Shirt sponsors, naming rights to stadiums. This is doing, but the price is doing business. I don't hate it. It seems like it's a good partnership. It's a charitable cause.
It seems like it's a great partnership in terms of some of the other ones the Galaxy have. This one is right up there. Is probably the best one that they have.
Absolutely.
So we don't know what it is, but again, this is going to end up being 3 name changes in 25 years once this contract has gone out. So I think everybody kind of just chill a little bit on some of that stuff. Now, they're going to do a whole bunch of things, too. They're running a mobile health clinic during the LA Galaxy games. They're going to go out to some of those youth tournaments and provide some sponsorship and some support for those as well. So, and they're going to be holding some viewing parties in the hospitals, possibly.
Regular visit. It seems like a great partnership, and that was my if you're going to gripe about it because of the name change, that's one thing. But the partnership itself seems like it's going to be meaningful.
Sense.
Yeah.
Now, the other part of the name thing that we really get into is the fact that, and we were talking about like Wrigley Field and Mile High, and it's, by the way, it's like somebody presents Mile High or whatever it is in Denver. Is the fact that StubHub Center / Home Depot Center
it never was LA Galaxy Stadium.
It never was anything. Yeah, it was always Home Depot Center, which was a naming rights deal,
Yes.
and then it was StubHub Center, naming rights deal. Unless you're going to call it, Bruce Arena, which I've always liked.
The timely choice.
The Bruce Arena. See, it all makes a lot of sense. Or as somebody suggested, Victoria Park for Victoria, the street that borders it to the north. Unless you're going to do that, and then you can have Dignity Health presents Victoria Park or at Victoria Park, that type of thing. You can do that, and then you'll keep a name forever.
Yes.
But until that happens, you're going to get a new name every 10 years or so.
And that's kind of the funny thing too, is if you're going to say, well, I don't like the name change. I mean, did you really love the StubHub model and business so much that I'm a StubHub guy. I hate that they're getting rid of that. I mean, things change. Partnerships change. It's okay. We're going to get through it. We're going to survive.
Everybody will be okay.
Everyone's going to be okay.
I mean,
that's the Dignity Health Center or Health Sports Park. I already called it the center.
Dignity Health. Well, at one point, whenever I saw the article in the LA Times this morning, I said, is this all true? And they're like, yeah, we're going to announce it later today. And so I tweeted out Dignity Health Sports Complex.
Okay.
Because it is a complex.
Yeah,
that's a lot, but it's not. It's Dignity Health Sports plural. Sports Park.
Because it's more than one sport.
Dignity Health Sporting Park. Dignity Health
Sports Park.
Somebody suggested calling it DHS Park.
DHS Park,
which I like. That's not horrible. The Dig.
The Dig works.
The Dig or the Diggity.
The Diggity is my personal favorite because then you could play No Diggity. Any chance you can get Blackstreet's No Diggity back on my Spotify playlist, I'm all for it.
Back on it hasn't left. That's the thing.
Keep it down over here.
That's
We're
right.
on live stream.
That's how it works.
I don't want that getting out.
You share.
But yeah, the Diggity is kind of fun, and I was kind of interacting with a few people on Twitter as well. Part of that is the fun as well, because if it was, Bruce Arena Field, Dignity Health presents Bruce Arena Field,
right?
Then it's not as fun. But if it's constantly changing, then you kind of get to come up with these new things, and it will evolve over time. Once it's like El Tráfico, maybe it wasn't intended, but once it's stuck, it's stuck. So whatever we're going to end up calling this stadium, it will stick. But the bottom line is the LA Galaxy play there, and that's what matters.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to
the LA Galaxy, the LA Chargers, and soon to be
like I said,
the XFL.
The LA Galaxy play there, and that's what matters. End statement.
Well, the one thing I want to get away from on this is that the Galaxy just did it for money. Yeah. That's what they do.
That's kind of the point.
That's what they do. That's how you do sports in North America.
That's how you get Zlatan to come.
It may be different somewhere else. It may be different in the UK. It may be different in. But I mean, it's the O2 Arena, right? I mean, we know that. We know. So it's Wembley. Wait, no, that doesn't work. So I didn't know. Is that somebody?
It's okay.
Is that somebody? Was it named after a corporation?
Jim Wembley.
Actually, there was going to be a naming rights deal with Wembley, and it fell through.
Because of the outrage?
I have no idea. I don't know. But they were going to fund basically a whole bunch of youth initiatives with it. And so I remember hearing that it was a thing.
And that's the thing you have to remember. There are meaningful partnerships attached to this naming rights piece. And I think that's the important thing to remember. And it's just a name. What matters is the team that plays inside. So it's the heart. It's what's on the inside that counts.
Just stop. Just stop.
Near Christmas.
I was talking to somebody who has to say that name aloud. I don't want to say any names.
Okay.
But somebody that has to say that name out loud. And this person was like, all right.
Yeah.
Reset. Let me figure out how to do this one. Dignity. It is not one that rolls off the tongue. It gets stuck there. Yeah. It's like getting peanut butter in your retainer. Yeah. It sort of sticks on the side.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where we are with that particular thing. Again, I think overall it's a great idea.
Yep.
If the Galaxy want to name their field something, Anschutz Field, you want to call it that, and then we'll just go with that, and then it could be Dignity Health at Anschutz Field,
or flip it, Anschutz Field at Dignity Health Sports Park.
I think at one point at Arizona State, the baseball stadium that they had there was like Frank Cush Field at blah 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 at this. There was like 7 different layers to it, so you could do whatever you wanted to.
Well, and I think your way around it is naming the soccer field something. That way, it's that field at that specific stadium.
Yeah, and it makes it's all much. All right, we've made it 30 minutes into the show.
All right, we haven't even gotten to the hot topics.
It was important.
You said 35 minutes. You were pretty close.
I was pretty close.
I've been. Thank you.
Get out. I've been I've been doing this a while, so I can usually figure out how these things are going to go. This is difficult to sort of explain because if you remember on our Monday podcast, we had a break-in. Yeah. We had a break-in on our podcast. We
even had a sound effect. I was listening.
We had sound effects. We had people almost crash their cars because of those sound effects. We apologize, but we felt it was necessary. We actually broke into our own podcast, a recorded podcast. We broke into the center because we got done. We hit the stop button, and all of a sudden we heard that Caleb Porter was close to signing with the LA Galaxy. And Caleb Porter was seen at the Lakers game with Chris Klein. With
a hell of a game to go to
with
also.
Dan Beckerman. Yeah, it was Lakers and Heat. With Dan Beckerman, with Dennis Kloese. All of those were there.
The whole gang was there.
The whole gang was there. It was happening. They were courting Caleb Porter. Y'all knew it. The next day comes out, and you had the reports that start coming out that the Galaxy were close. You had it from, I think, The Athletic. I think you had it from ESPN FC. You had it from Kevin Baxter saying it was close. Yeah. And we have been told it was close.
Yeah.
And we were not moving off of that particular ledge.
The Magic 8 Ball said all signs point to yes.
All signs point to yes, but it's not done. So we were told close. All these things are happening. Everything was moving in that direction. So that has been assumed now for the last week, basically until Thursday as we're recording.
I'll say full disclosure. I knew I was recording tonight, and I did my Caleb Porter homework. I was ready to
Caleb Porter. Yes,
I was ready to talk myself into Caleb Porter.
I did,
and then we had some revelations.
Yeah, there was some revelations. So Paul Tenorio came out at about it was about 3:45. And Paul Tenorio for The Athletic, and who has been on the show before and who is one of my favorite people to follow, at Paul Tenorio on Twitter if you want to. And of course, listen, I'm going to tell you to subscribe to The Athletic because I do, and I get great information from there and love reading the articles. So if you do that, go for it. I'm not being paid to say that, so go do it. But Paul Tenorio came out and basically said that Caleb Porter, after basically being crowned the LA Galaxy coach already, he was at the Laker game. Yeah, he was at the Laker game, which we'll talk about. Yeah. But we're being told that that Paul Tenorio reporting that he's going to sign with the Columbus Crew, and that didn't seem possible probably 12 hours before that if you had told me. Now Porter sort of popped up late on this too, in terms of hey, this was the guy. But I will tell you right now that I was fully prepared for an announcement on Friday. And I was fully prepared for a press conference on Monday, and I didn't do that all by myself. There were other people who were telling me that that's the direction it was headed. Now, again, it was always if it gets done, Eric. They were good. And
they covered all their bases.
If it gets done, this is what's going to happen. So you were looking at an announcement late this week, which was Thursday, Friday. You're looking at press conference Monday, Tuesday. That all made sense. Whole deal. The fact that Caleb Porter is not, and by the way, I will tell you specifically, Kevin Baxter tweeted it out. He says, a source close to the negotiations confirms Paul Tenorio's story that Caleb Porter is no longer a candidate for the vacant LA Galaxy coaching job. So no longer a candidate. Went from the guy going to get announced on Friday to no longer a candidate. Baxter went on to say, apparently new general manager Dennis Kloese didn't feel Porter was the right fit for the club.
May I interject, Your Honor?
Yeah, you can. You can.
So, leading up to this,
yes,
we were led to believe that moving forward, general manager was going to make decisions on coaching.
Right.
So if Caleb Porter was being courted, deal was close to being done. If I'm putting pieces of the puzzle together, it seems like Kloese would have seemingly wanted Porter if it was close to. It was just a matter of the deal getting done. And so for at the last hour, for him to say, I see it going a different direction, it just seems odd. It seems odd to me.
It seems more than odd.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to suck on cough drops for this entire
enough.
podcast. Otherwise, I'll
keep going.
Yeah, I'll just make noises over here. No, I mean, it's more than odd. It is a complete turnaround. I mean, this was an organization moving in that direction. Now, I had said on Tuesday and on Wednesday that basically if Caleb Porter was brought in, that this was going to be Chris Klein's horse to ride. Yeah. It was going to be Chris Klein's mountain to die on was Caleb Porter because we know the college roommate.
Yeah.
We know all these connections to it.
And that's not a secret either. And so that's the other piece of it is if Caleb Porter was the guy, it was, he must have said something really amazing in the interview and laid out a plan because the optics of this did not look good for the LA Galaxy because the connections to Klein, it seems like, okay, he's bringing in another, boys club. Here comes another friend of his. And so Porter must have really laid something out that he was going to be spectacular. So that's why you could almost talk yourself into it. So to see it go sideways is really interesting. And then to throw to Kloese in there to say, he was part of the reason just seems interesting.
It certainly is a narrative. Now, listen, we have multiple narratives going on here and different things going. So Kevin puts out his tweet, and this is not to go against Kevin's tweet. I don't want to say that, but Paul Tenorio comes out and says, despite the differing narratives out there, I can reinforce my earlier reporting via multiple sources. The Galaxy offered Porter the job. He chose to take the Columbus job instead. So what you're seeing here is a narrative from the Galaxy that says, hey, Kloese made the decision. He wasn't going to fit. It wasn't going to work. And so that ended up making it done, whether or not they offered the job or not. Now, new stuff that has come out even since we started recording. If I can just get into my phone and actually bring up the tweets again. I know.
This is breaking news.
Yeah. It always is.
And I will say this about the Lakers game and why we all thought it was a done deal. That's the LA Galaxy's signature move. For some people, when they go to the movies, they do the arm stretch. And then that's how you get the arm around the girl.
Right.
So, you bring her to the door, and then you go for that final move. That's the Lakers game. They, we saw him do it with Jermaine Jones.
Jermaine Jones, that's right.
I mean, it's like the kiss of death. We know it's a done deal. So that was what added to the shock value.
Because you don't go to the Laker game and
sit public,
sit in the front row unless you think it's done, right?
You're basically saying it's okay to be seen because this is happening.
So Kevin Baxter tweeted out while at 7:08. So we started recording at 7. So here we go. The Galaxy Caleb Porter talks ended over the length of the contract the team was offering, I'm told. The Galaxy are still paying Kurt Arnolfo and Siggy Schmidt, who had 2 years deals, in addition to Dominic Kinnear. They did not want to saddle themselves with another long-term deal.
Okay. So,
again,
you want how I interpret that?
Yeah.
So they offered him a job.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like the job and went elsewhere. So they didn't offer him what he wanted, but they seemed to think that they were in the ballpark.
Yeah. And
so that's interesting.
And so basically you can look at it this way, which is that, if the Crew offered him what the Galaxy couldn't, then that's what it is. But
then that's, yeah.
But the bottom line is the Galaxy put themselves in a position by not hiring the correct people and by paying people to longer-term deals. And by the way, in no universe is 2 years a long-term deal.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into that right now. For a coach, 2 years is not a long-term deal, but they want to make sure they have the right fit on these guys.
And like you said, they're already paying other coaches, so they really can't offer. They've put themselves in a position where they can't offer more years.
They can.
This is the whole thing. But then you're stuck with it, and then what happens if it goes sideways again?
Yeah, and it can, right? And you absolutely can. I mean, listen. Anytime I say that like the LA Galaxy don't have the money to do something, I laugh because they're AEG. They have all the money. They were ranked, I think, in the top 15 football clubs in the entire world in terms of the overall financial power of their owner. Now, they don't put that kind of money into the LA Galaxy. You get it. But
and devil's advocate, if you have those means, does that mean you should just burn it away? I think
no,
you don't get those means without being careful how you spend it as well.
Yeah. So this is where it all sort of comes into. So, I mean, it's a horrible situation for the Galaxy if you figure that they put themselves in a position that we talked about it, Kevin and I talked about it before this year was even over, that whatever coach they were going to get, they were going to have to overpay for. Yeah. And if they're going in thinking they're going to get some bargain deal on somebody by not offering, the years, then that's just, it's not going to happen. You fired 2 coaches. You were going to let go possibly your third coach. You ran one coach out with Bruce Arena basically running to the U.S. men. He was happy to go, folks, okay? He didn't want to stay. So you've done these things to these 4 guys so far. You have to repair with some trust. You have to be like, okay, and Caleb, we trust you if that's the way you wanted to get. Now, let me just say this. LA Galaxy fans are really happy that Caleb Porter is not, and I get it. I understand. I personally, I don't know that he was a great fit.
Yeah.
And like you said, you could talk yourself into it.
I was going to say, I did the research. I was, figuring out if I can talk myself into it. And, Porter Ball, I Googled Porter Ball way more times than I needed to in the past week. And so you can see a scenario where you might see it work. But when the name first got announced and knowing his history and where he's coming from and his track record, it just doesn't seem like he meshed with the Galaxy roster that is currently configured right now. And his style just doesn't seem to be a match with the Galaxy. So even though it seems like things went sideways and maybe not in the Galaxy's favor, it's almost like in the long run, this might end up being a good thing because now Kloese really will
get that choice.
He's definitely going to be on the hook now to make that choice unless it's too late.
But we can't think, and it's unfair it's unfair to Kloese to give him the credit for this that it really is. Now, he could have said there and said, no, we're not going to go that. We're not going to do, but that doesn't feel like a Kloese decision.
Yeah, from Monday night being at the Laker game to Tuesday being announced, that's a tough sell.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, we also know that he's been at StubHub Center for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I mean,
and he did say that in the conference. He said with respect to his previous job, he can't really
say how long he's been here.
There. Yeah,
I know.
So, so I get that. And if you're a coach, and going back to the Galaxy's leverage, if you're a coach and you're coming in to be interviewed and you say they've gotten rid of a coach year after year, you're going to ask for more years because you know how volatile the situation is and where it can go. So both sides are really at a because the coach is going to come in asking for more years given the way the Galaxy have run coaches out, and the Galaxy is not going to come in with as many years because they have coaches that they're still paying. So it's both sides really working in opposite directions.
By the way, I need to take a brief second and cut out here. We do not have an update on Siggy Schmidt. In the hospital, last you heard Kevin talking about all the rumors surrounding the exact condition of Siggy Schmidt. I'll tell you, it wasn't good. It didn't feel good. It felt very serious. It continues to feel that way, but we have heard no updates. I don't know if that's good news or bad news.
I think no news is good news because if
there was news
if
right
there
now,
was news, that might not be a good thing.
That might not be,
hopefully all is going well. Thoughts with his family at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to get, because I forgot to put that on the sheet, and it's because we haven't received, the family is probably not going to release any information, and so it's just one of those things we'll have to wait for it to play out, and then we'll know. So I don't want you to think we forgot about that or anything else. We're talking about Siggy Schmidt a little bit, still getting paid by the Galaxy. I don't want to be insensitive to all that, and certainly that's still on the back of all our minds whenever we're doing this. But, I mean, okay, so now we go back. I mean, the whole thing is you saw the narratives play out here, and you saw them play out pretty quick, which is kind of in real time.
And to be fair, I know a lot of the Galaxy podcast crew gets their information via Twitter, but this is really a testament to get on Twitter and see what's going on, because we saw this whole thing play out in a matter of hours.
Yeah, I actually saw the Athletic tweet that came out. I saw it like when it was 30 seconds old, and I was like, what the heck? And so then that was when I got on the phone and started calling everybody and started finding. And it did. You can ultimately say the deal fell apart because of the difference in years. And if that's the case, then it seems it connects both Paul Tenorio's reporting and Kevin Baxter's, which gives you, this is what reporting does.
Picture, yeah.
You've now covered all
the
of
loop.
it. Yeah, you're like, okay, there we go. Now you have the answer. So this is what you have for the Galaxy now, though, is they had a guy, and I'm fairly certain of this. They had a guy they wanted to sign. They had a guy who they thought they were going to sign. They had a guy who they thought they were going to announce this week. They had a guy who they thought they were going to have a press conference with next week. They had all those things. Now what happens? Because you burned some bridges already by offering it to somebody and not to somebody else, right? So who's going to be second? I mean, it's like asking out this girl, and when she says no, you go ask her sister out. It's like, oh, hey, but I really wanted you the whole time, but your hotter sister. I mean, that's what you're getting at right now, is that the Galaxy now, and by the way, their cards are already on the table.
Yeah.
You already know that you are going to be, oh, okay, this is going to happen.
Yeah,
okay.
With how many years they're asking for or how many years they're willing to offer. You know which direction they were willing to go in. So, yeah, you're absolutely right that the leverage is out of their hands. So whoever they do bring in, perhaps it is going to have to be a 4 or 5 year deal if you're going to want to secure someone who's worth it. So some of the names that are thrown out there, Barros Scalotto, Miguel Herrera.
He's still out there, Miguel Herrera.
Those are the coaches who, when those names pop up, you could say, okay, yes, that makes sense with the type of players Kloese might bring in. And so maybe you can talk yourself into the contract length if you bring someone else in. But to Caleb Porter, to give him that contract length didn't seem like a match. And that's why I think a lot of Galaxy fans may look at this as bullet dodged.
I will tell you this, that I would imagine that Dennis Kloese is still interviewing people now. He goes back to his Rolodex.
Yep.
He comes through. I was told, by the way, that Dennis liked Caleb Porter, and that was they were. I think they were looking forward to working together. I think that was all a real deal, and it seems like it was real.
Well, he had to have. Yeah. And maybe it was a situation where he talked himself into it.
Right.
Knowing that was going to be the guy, and he said, "Okay, I can see that I can mold the situation. This coach is going to be able to move us forward." So yeah, maybe it is true that Dennis liked him and could see a future with him. So I don't doubt that.
Do you want to know? You threw out some names.
Okay.
I have another name for you, Jason Kreis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right?
Bury the lead.
Jason Kreis. Now, this was one where we thought perhaps, if you remember, Doug McIntyre was reporting at one point that he was a head coach. And then it wasn't a head coach. He was going to be an assistant coach under Porter with Dominic Kinnear.
Yeah,
it seemed like a happy family,
the
right?
three-headed lion. We were ready to go.
People, by the way, around the league were like, how is anybody going to deal with Caleb Porter and Jason Kreis on the same thing? Jason Kreis. I'll tell you one. I'll tell you that, he's been without a job. People are going to hate me for this. I actually like Jason Kreis, and I have, right? He's one of those guys who I just think I think he can coach. In fact, I'm sure he can coach. He got a kind of a raw deal at New York City FC, which was, if you don't perform, which you didn't perform, you're getting fired. And then he goes to Orlando, which we can all agree is a tire fire.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's Florida. That's all you need to say. It's Florida.
You just alienated all our Orlando people who listen to this. All one of them.
Listen, if you're in Florida, you know what you are.
All one of them who got the internet to work.
Be a little self-aware.
All right. So it's one of those things. Listen, it's neither here or there right now in terms of Jason Kreis, and I'm not saying that there's anything to it. I will tell you that there is, much like Caleb Porter, a connection to LA Galaxy president Chris Klein, in case you wanted to play that game. So if you're betting that Chris Klein still finds a way to find somebody who has a connection to him, now granted, the guy played throughout the league. He's going to have connections to a lot of people. But
just naturally, he's going to have had teammates and coaches he knows.
But in 2007, we'll take you back a little bit. 2007, Chris Klein was playing for Real Salt Lake. The coach at that time was Jason Kreis. Jason Kreis traded Chris Klein to the LA Galaxy, and that was so that way Chris Klein could finish his career on grass instead of turf, because at the time RSL played on turf. They played it like at the University of Utah.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, on the football field, BYU.
Rice-Eccles Stadium.
Whichever one that was. It was turf, right?
Yes.
And so this was before Rio Tinto got done. So they did it.
If you're an aging player, it's nice to come to the Home Depot Center and play on some grass.
That's from
and
now
then you
on.
can play on the StubHub Center.
From now on, you have to use the name of the stadium, the year that you are speaking of. So yes, he came to Home Depot Center on the grass to do that, and Kreis did that for him because they were good friends. Apparently their wives are good friends as well, and so I mean, there's some ties there.
More connections. All right, your new LA Galaxy head coach, Jason Kreis. That's what I heard.
I don't want to say. I say this joking because I think it's a funny joke. This is certainly not a report that I'm putting out or anything like that. But whenever the optics are that Chris Klein hires his friends, we know the optics are there and the optics are bad and that they don't come out. It was like Chris Klein will never hire anybody. He doesn't have to meet any new people. He just knows the same people.
He's got the right people
in the same room.
And to your point, if Kreis was already locked in to be an assistant and Caleb Porter last minute is gone, de facto, kind of like Dom Kinnear being the interim head coach,
right?
It seems like by default, Jason Kreis is kind of your interim head coach in waiting, interviewee, until they start getting some more people in the room.
Somebody said to me, listen, you had Siggy Schmidt, and then you had Dominic Kinnear, and the whole time you said, well, Siggy Schmidt doesn't work out, you could always put Dominic Kinnear in there. To be fair, Bruce Arena sort of had that same thing with Bruce Arena and Dave Sarachan was there. Okay, so you were always like, if Bruce Arena's not there, Dave Sarachan's there. Then you had, if you go with Caleb Porter
and Jason
Kreis, you have Jason Kreis being eventually you sit there and go, you can't keep rotating. It's too itchy.
The ace off your sleeve.
It's an itchy trigger finger. You're going to be like, oh, but Jason Kreis could do this job. And if Jason Kreis comes in and he has Dominic Kinnear as his assistant, which by the way, if you're Dominic Kinnear, do you take, you say no,
that's
right?
What surprises me. If you decide not to keep Dom, I don't know that he stays on. I mean, it seemed reports and things seem to indicate like he would stick around and to be a three.
And I'm conflicted about Dominic Kinnear, right? You know that I think I enjoy covering him. I enjoy talking to him. He's extremely smart. But I don't think he's a big enough name for the LA Galaxy. And by the way, I don't think Caleb Porter is a big enough name for the LA Galaxy. And I don't think Jason Kreis is.
Which is fair.
So
again, I'm with you. I'm following.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and again, to go back with Caleb Porter to Columbus, he came from Akron.
Right.
So there's a home connection there. And so it kind of makes sense for him to go there. For him, so to say that Caleb Porter is not a capable coach, that's probably incorrect. But to come to the LA Galaxy in there to see where the Galaxy is going to move and the style and the players that they have now, I don't know that that's the right fit.
And does Caleb Porter come in, and is he able to work with somebody named Zlatan Ibrahimovic? I say Zlatan Ibrahimovic mostly because the chat room pointed out that we went 48, 49 minutes without saying Zlatan's name.
That's because we got him locked down. We're good.
He's coming back. We already talked about that on Monday, so he's coming back. Basically, Kevin and I were like, we told you so, and that was the entire conversation. But anyway, could you see Caleb Porter and Zlatan Ibrahimovic working together?
It seems like they'd get along as well as him and Pep Guardiola.
You want to try one more time?
Hello, is this thing on?
Anyway,
Dignity Health Park
or
Sports Park
Complex. No, you're out. You look at all that stuff, and it's one of these things. I mean, it is crazy that what has happened to the LA Galaxy in this short period of time, who they're going to pick, who's going to work well with who. Now, here's the thing. We know publicly everybody's come out and said, Dominic Kinnear is our guy, Dominic Kinnear is our guy. We don't know how much they really believe that, because what are you going to say?
He's not our guy?
He's not our guy? Yeah.
And you made a great point, and I'm glad the chat room brought up Zlatan.
He's the tall guy.
Hopefully, whoever's making these decisions, Zlatan has a voice or is being heard, because it seems like if they were going to go forward with Porter,
that Zlatan would have to be like, yeah, that was
gets
good.
the check mark, because I think very quickly after Kloese was announced on Instagram, Zlatan liked the post. He was one of the first players. So it seems like he may have known that was coming, or he must have been part of it. So you would hope that whatever coach is signed off, Zlatan is okay with.
Well, not only that, but you hear Zlatan is coming back. Yeah. Right around the time Kloese is getting confirmed, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that had to have not been a coincidence. So now he's like, okay, I'm buying into that. But then was it all on the premise that Caleb Porter was coming in, and that was fine? Have you now?
Do you think Zlatan? Caleb Porter's not going to be my coach. I'm going back to Milan.
He calls him Caleb.
Caleb. He says,
Caleb Porter.
Call Milan. Let's get that deal back up again. I wanted to play under Mr. Porter.
Yeah, that's.
I heard what he did with the Akron Zips, and I am all in.
I'm a Zips fan, huge Zips fan. We watch them in Sweden.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, so that's what it is. Okay, so that's where we stand on Caleb Porter. He's not coming to the Galaxy. That's over. The Galaxy may have to reset. They may have to go back to the drawing board for all of this, which is crazy at this time of year. You kind of want it to be settled already, because SuperDraft's coming up. I mean, there's some things that are happening, and you're in the holiday season now.
And to be fair, with SuperDraft, that seems like it's a closer decision. The players that you're going to bring in. But yes, you want the coach. Ideally, you want your coach in there.
Don't ideally me. They want a coach. You need to know who you have and what they want to do. It's like, hey, I want to pick up this defensive midfielder. It's like, why would you do that? I play this way with this, in this style, in this formation. Yeah. I mean, to Kloese...
I'm going to hit you with a but still.
De Kloese is going to get the guy.
To get the guy.
To get the guys. Yeah. And that's sort of how it is. And he's going to oversee it, and he's going to help, and the scouting is important, and the youth development is important.
And that's why I think with the SuperDraft, that's a big scouting thing.
It is. And that's why you want him there, and you want him doing his thing. Anyway, okay. So we're moving on. We're closing that. Let's get to the rumors real quick. One that popped up, of course, was Giovanni Dos Santos to FC Cincinnati. I love talking about this rumor. I know how excited Galaxy fans are, and it makes me so happy to be saying there's no way in double HE, double the hockey sticks, H double.
Ooh, can I share? Can I poo-poo it? So when we talked about the expansion draft, and you had all the rumble about don't protect Gio, see if someone will take him.
Right.
Why did you say that's not possible?
Well, one, nobody would take him, and also he's a designated player.
So there's probably a
no trade clause. Yeah.
So do you think that if FC Cincinnati made an offer, Giovanni would willingly say, yes, I'd love to go to FC Cincinnati if he has a no trade clause?
Right. And possibly making $6.5 million.
I don't think that you're.
Does he care though? Last year of his deal, and then he can go wherever the heck he wants. So do you care?
I don't see him.
And there's no confirmation of that, by the way. And they probably protect him anyway, even though. And I know that drives people crazy, but you probably protect him anyway.
And you do. I agree with that. But at the same time, he has to sign off on wherever he's going, because I can almost guarantee you that whatever are the terms of his contract, he needs to sign off on it. You can't just get rid of him without him being okay with it. So that's why I think a Liga MX team is more likely.
Chat room, by the way, freaking out that we're not going to talk about Cosmo and the news about Cosmo. We will get there. I know.
Okay. Are we allowed to talk about that?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. They didn't tell me I could. There's nothing to tell. They posted it.
But it's kind of like Santa, you know? Are you supposed to talk about? Yeah, okay.
Santa's real.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So is Cosmo.
Got it. Done and done. We've checked the box, chat room. Moving on.
We'll get there. Here's another rumor that came up. This is one I can actually tell you that I have some independent confirmation on. Juninho, with no regards to humanity, Juninho. That's what somebody said. They're like, do we really want him back? He has no regard for humanity. I'm like, oh, yeah, just, Juninho back with the LA Galaxy. This is a hot rumor, we're currently saying. This is a fact that the LA Galaxy and Juninho have had talks, maybe back as far as a couple of weeks. We don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but they are having talks, and so that is something that you can pay attention to.
I will ask you this. Do you think if Juninho comes back, is it to play a meaningful role, or I see him coming back kind of like a
Carrasco. He's a Carrasco.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, he's 29. He's 29, by the way. He's 29. He's not 33 or 34.
He just look. It's the hair.
It's the hair. So Juninho possibly coming back. He's 29. He did not play last year, so that's something to know. He was with Chicago Fire in 2017. Was on loan from Tijuana for that, and then did not play last year. Didn't have a club. So we'll see if he comes back and if the Galaxy could use him. If they get him for no money, he's a great. Yeah, I think that's great.
For the right price, I think, you bring in a veteran presence, someone who knows the organization, someone who the fans are going to get behind. I think it's a smart move in that regard, but you do have to think this is a few years removed. He hasn't played like he played when he was on the LA Galaxy.
No.
So to come back and expect him to play like he was, I don't think that's fair. But if you resign to the fact he's going to be a sub, you're going to plug him in situations where you have injuries, I think you can see where that move makes sense.
It does. Now, let's go. Zlatan Ibrahimovic becoming a designated player. This has all been basically confirmed. So we can say, yes, he will be a designated player. We do not know. And I will tell you right now that if they sign him to a designated player deal, the LA Galaxy are allowed to have 4 designated players. And everybody just went, what? They're like, woo, let me rewind. Let me hear Josh say that one more time. I'll just say it again for you. The LA Galaxy are allowed to have 4 designated players. I love doing stuff like this. This is my favorite thing. I want everybody to just sit there and relax.
Print it.
Breathe deeply. All right. Don't go tweet it out.
Yeah.
Josh said that there are 4 because here's the big thing. You're allowed to have 4 designated players until the roster deadline, and basically there's the roster compliance deadline where you're not allowed to have 4 designated. So basically, whenever the season starts,
you can have 12 designated players. You can
just
once the season starts, you can't. Okay.
You can't have it.
That's fair.
So that's why there's no definitive answer to who is going or if anybody's going anywhere.
And there's some possible rule changes happening.
So we will see how that works. But right now, the LA Galaxy, if they sign Zlatan, would have 4 designated players. They would need to have a rule change. Maybe they could increase the ceiling on TAM, and it's not to give Zlatan more TAM, it's to give somebody like Alessandrini more TAM.
He's at 199, so if you go to 2, that works out very nicely.
It works out. Or if there's no rule change, maybe you can restructure a contract. Now, I'm not saying you restructure Gio's contract, which we'll probably need, but maybe you could restructure Alessandrini's contract,
That's
which
ideal.
is, hey, you're making 2, but we'll give you 3 more years at 1.5, which I think everybody can kind of get behind and say, okay, that makes some sense. That then you have that makes a deal. Now he's a TAM player and not a designated player. Zlatan's a TAM player. You still keep Giovanni Dos Santos.
You swap Zlatan and Alessandrini. Pay Alessandrini what you're paying Zlatan. Give Zlatan
$8 or $12 million, whatever he
Brinks
wants.
Truck.
Yeah, whatever he wants.
He'll make it back in jersey sales.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where you're looking for Roman Alessandrini, and where it is. And because he's a designated player, he only takes up. Roman only takes up $350,000, I think.
Yeah,
it may be $425 now. I don't know. They raise it, but it's just the designated player spot.
Yeah,
he would have
spot more than the salary.
Yeah,
really.
and he would have a larger cap hit if he goes into the TAM. Zlatan has a larger cap hit than Alessandrini does, and that's sort of how it works. So anyway, no, you cannot buy a 4th designated player spot. I can't.
England. Someone get New England on the phone.
I told
Bob Kraft.
I told everybody that I tweeted out. I said, don't say it's in the rule book when it's not in the rule book. You can't just make up stuff. They're like, no, you can buy a 4th. It's in the rules. I'm like, no, it's not in the rules. And I go, by the way, saying that it's in the rule book when it's not in the rule book also applies directly to Major League Soccer, and you can say it directly to them, which is like MLS. You can't say it's in the rule book when it's not in the rule book.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Air Bud. Where in the rule book does it say a golden retriever can't be on the basketball team?
That's exactly it. That's what I was thinking too immediately. No, so you look at this. By the way, Professor Steve Bank, who I love over at UCLA, Professor Bank, if he ever wants me to come sit in one of his classes, I will. He teaches UCLA at UCLA Law School.
Yes.
But he does soccer stuff, and he always blows my mind with stuff, so he's great. But he said whenever the rules came out originally, it said these are a summary of the rules, indicating that there were more rules
technically
somewhere
these
else.
Aren't the rules.
This is just a summary of the rules, and he's like,
notes.
That went away somewhere, right? And so I was like, oh man, that would be great if there are there's a vault underneath,
the super secret rules,
like underneath a giant skyscraper in New York, where you have to go in and you have to
Nicolas
iris
Cage
scan,
has to steal the Declaration of Independence
in order to figure it out. Absolutely. So that's where you could see, all that stuff. But that's where it is right now. So Zlatan Ibrahimovic, somebody has to do something. They have to rearrange something.
Moves need to be made. But his terms are done, it seems like.
I will tell you this. It feels very real that they are trying to move Giovanni Dos Santos. I don't think they want to move Roman Alessandrini, which is another thing we've talked about ad nauseum, that they could move Alessandrini and you could move him somewhere. And that Montreal at one point wanted him, although his agent says that he has no idea about that. So,
and real talk, he's the movable asset.
He is the movable asset. You can move Jonathan Dos Santos, but you don't want to move him either. And if you're going to eat, why would you move Jonathan and keep Gio?
Yeah, he's in Jakarta having a good time.
That's an Herbalife trip, by the way. I don't want everybody to think like it's crazy, but like there's an Herbalife trip going on with the guy. That's why the guys are some of the guys are trying. I think Baggio, Ema, Dave Romney, and
Dan Stairs,
and Jonah.
And Jonah.
Yeah. I think that's it. Maybe it's not Baggio. Maybe it's just
no. It is Baggio.
No, it's Baggio.
He's there.
Okay.
I'm following. I'm following the saga on Instagram. If you're not following these players, it's a good time.
By the way, in our chat room right now, Ruben Bank, who is the son of Professor Steve Bank. Tell your dad we said hi.
Bank family.
Yeah. We love your dad. Your dad is like one of the coolest people I know.
Professor Bank Field at Dignity Health Sports Park. I can't get it right.
Sporting Director Park.
I can't get it right.
I don't know. We'll figure it out eventually.
Shout out to you, Professor Bank.
The diggity. The diggity. So anyway, that's sort of where we sit on the rumors. I'm trying to. I don't think there's any other rumors that are sort of no. By the way, I like my ranking on the rumors on the tracker. Because like the Galaxy likely to land Caleb Porter as head coach, it was from really hot, scorching hot to suddenly cold.
Suddenly cold.
Yes,
I like that.
I know, it was great.
Very subtle.
Let's see, and I think my favorite one here is let's see, I said about the whole Porter deal. I said the made-for-TV movie of the saga should be very interesting. So we'll see how it goes.
You really could. This really is a soap opera. It's pretty spectacular.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I could the chat room is of course indicating that if we really wanted to pay Gio and pay Gio off and get rid of his transfer fees, I could sell my scarves. That's a good idea.
I don't think that's not in the rule book.
By the way, holiday shipping available. You can still get it before Christmas if you want to get your Corner of the Galaxy scarf. I send them out like pretty quick. I'm usually and you get it like next day if you're in Southern California.
And it's a quality scarf.
It is high quality.
It's been chilly around here.
You could use it. You could actually use it. I went ice skating last weekend. By the way,
that's right.
The Galaxy had the season ticket member thing. I weaseled my way into that and went ice skating. My wife went with me.
Nice.
It was great. She was on the ice for
No
about
crutches?
45 seconds. She was like, yeah, I don't want to end up in the emergency room. It was fun. I actually had a good time. I hadn't ice skated since high school.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a while.
Yeah, it was a good time.
But you know who else was there?
Who else?
Cosmo was there.
Cosmo!
It's called
oh,
Segway,
my.
folks.
That's not good. This is going to come to a shock of some people. Cosmo's a mascot, and there's somebody living inside of him. I didn't mean to be, if you have kids, maybe I should have been like, earmuffs.
Turn it off.
Earmuffs?
Spoiler.
Yeah,
spoiler.
That was a joke, kids. That was a joke. Earmuffs, put it on. But yeah, there's somebody inside of Cosmo. That person is an amazing human being.
Yeah. Agreed.
And right now, the LA Galaxy posted, I don't know, was it today or yesterday?
MLS Jobs,
yeah, MLS Jobs put out. The job posting went up, and it says that the LA Galaxy mascot performer with LA Galaxy and Carson. That's what they're looking for. So the person who is playing Cosmo is not going to be doing it anymore.
Maybe they need two people.
Maybe they need two. Maybe Cosmo's getting a twin. I don't think that's the case. I tried to figure that out and ferret that out. It doesn't sound like that's the way.
Breaking my heart.
I know.
I will add, because you're saying it, whoever's in there, the Cosmo persona has evolved over the years.
Right.
And it's really, credit to whoever's doing that, because it's really been spectacular. And that's why it was heartbreaking. And I think so many people reacted to it because Cosmo, we love Cosmo. Don't ever change Cosmo. So I think that's the reaction. But, now that's ingrained. That's in the origin story. That's there.
But that wasn't a full-time job.
No.
Can you believe that wasn't a full-time job? The person who was tweeting for Cosmo was the person who plays Cosmo.
Yes. That was not separated.
I found
that out today.
Really? That was today?
I thought it was a team because it was too good. It was way too good.
No. This is the person who played Cosmo.
One person. That person's a hero.
And we know the Cosmo persona is larger than almost the LA Galaxy itself, it feels like, in most times. The Cosmo loves tacos. The Cosmo loves car chases.
Yeah.
All of these things come about because they're awesome. And
that's just the personality in stadium. My wife's favorite part, and I'm sorry, LA Galaxy, her favorite part of going to LA Galaxy games is to meet Cosmo and to see Cosmo.
That's what
she can care less about what's going on the field.
That's some of my favorite stuff.
She goes there to see Cosmo.
Seeing Cosmo. So anyway, doing that. But this wasn't the person's full-time job. So you can imagine all the stuff that, like, if they have a full-time job and that's their part-time, all the stuff they would have to, like, oh, I need this day off because I have to go to the children's hospital to go cheer up kids. I mean, good excuses. But at the same time, if you're the boss of that person, you're like, what?
It's a tall order.
I will tell you this. I think it's extremely short-sighted of the LA Galaxy not to make that a full-time position for that person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's for anybody else, but what amount of publicity do you get out of this particular person? And I don't know. Maybe they told him that they would pay him $80,000 or $90,000 a year, which is what I think you'd have to pay me to be in a suit.
Don't think I did not text back and forth with my significant other. Should I apply for this?
Should I apply for
I was quickly shut down. You have to be shorter than 5'8".
You have to be shorter than 5'8"?
Between 5'3" and 5'8". So, I announced, I said, I am going to apply to be Cosmo. We're going to save this character. And then it was cut short, just a short 2 minutes later.
So, I mean, again, if you look at the nature of the job, the publicity the LA Galaxy get from it, and the visibility of that, and maybe the person who is inside of Cosmo is like, I don't want to be inside a suit anymore.
That's fair.
That's
totally
perfectly fair too. Perfectly fair. I get it. I mean, hot days, cold days, you name. It's been really hot sometimes.
You'd have to really love it and be compensated for it. But who knows what else is going on? Kudos to you. Congratulations or whatever's going on. We salute you. You're a hero.
You're a hero.
And we love what you've done with Cosmo.
If for some way I can get this particular person on the podcast, I will.
Oh, I want to be here for that.
You need to be. Maybe we'd have to modify the voice and we have to point the camera in a different direction.
Do one of those screens over the. Well, do you like what's that magic show where the magician wears the mask? Magician reveals the secrets.
I don't know what kind of stuff you're into.
Chat room.
I don't know.
It's the magician. It's on Fox.
I know. And then he shows you how the tricks are done, and they don't want to show the magician because that's a big no-no. You're not supposed to do that.
No-no.
Yeah, that's bad. But anyway, so the search for Cosmo is on. I don't know what to say. It's gonna be different, and it's not gonna be the same, and it can't be the same because that person was Cosmo.
And to be fair, you can't mimic that, and so that's whatever Cosmo. Whatever ends up happening, it's going to take on a new persona, it's going to evolve. But I don't think you should hold it against whoever ends up in that position.
I will tell you this right now: if they don't put this person in the ring of honor, in the circle of honor, whatever it is around, then something's not. It's not being done right.
But it's like the FBI or the CIA. They put the star. You can't really identify him, but you have to recognize him somehow. So, I'm with you, but at the same time, you can't.
They chat room says they got rid of Keane, Juninho, Omar, AJ, but Cosmo is unacceptable. Yeah. I know how it is.
Well, technically, they're not getting rid of Cosmo. Cosmo's still there.
Cosmo's like, we're done.
Person underneath.
Yeah, the Cosmo's like, no, gracias, no. So that's how it goes. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Did we get to everything?
I'm just glad we got to salute Cosmo.
That was fun. I feel sad though. There's an empty part of me. I'm going to eat tacos on Tuesday and
for sure
not want to send a picture of my tacos to Cosmo, and I don't know how to feel about that. Hashtag not my Cosmo.
Not my Cosmo. Oh man. See, that's what I'm saying. This can get very ugly to whoever fills that role. These are big. These are big shoes.
Can I tell you how much I love live shows in the chat room? I missed it. Best. Just not doing live shows. And listen, there hasn't been enough news to really support 2 shows. This is the exception, and we got lucky.
This one's worth 2 shows alone.
We were doing it before this all happened. So all that stuff is there. I remind you that after the music is done playing here and we are done, except if you're in the live show, because there's no way I'm sitting here for 45 minutes while you guys listen to this. You can listen to the podcast. So if you're on the live show, go to the podcast and you listen. If you're listening on the podcast, just hang in there. Don't go anywhere.
Well, pro tip. Grab a cup of coffee. Get a little caffeine.
Before
you listen to
be a little dry
conference
sometimes.
Call.
All right, but you can listen to the full Dennis Kloese conference call, unedited. You'll get all 45 minutes. There's a particular part in there when somebody can't figure out how to use a speakerphone, which is particularly enlightening and fun. So I hope you enjoy that. But I think that's about it. I don't think we have anything. I don't want to talk anymore.
We're done.
I don't want to say anything else. I just want to be done, and then I don't have to do anything. Schedule coming up. Let's see. Next Monday, we'll have a podcast on Monday, so that'll happen. Probably no podcast on Thursday. I'm guessing news is going to get pretty light here, but we'll play it by ear. Maybe there'll be a live show next Thursday. If there's coaching announcement, that could happen. So,
things would have to escalate very quickly.
Very quickly. So we'll take a look at that. Then the following Monday is Christmas Eve. Probably not going to have a show there. The following Monday is New Year's Eve. probably not going to have a show there.
Yeah, you're in that stupor between Christmas and New Year's. You're still eating and watching football. Yeah.
And if there's anything that's really important, I will find a way to come into the studio and record a podcast and put it out. But my son's coming in to visit. I could use a couple days off, a couple weeks off. That'd be fine. But we'll keep you updated on cornerofthegalaxy.com. That's where you go to find all that information. All right, Eric, is there anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at GISHammer. I'm, nearing 500 followers, so give me a follow.
Wow,
on
500?
Twitter. I'm kidding. I'm big time here.
Wow.
So you can also hear me on Guys in Shorts Sports. We're going on a little bit of a break right now, but you can find them at Guys in Shorts LA. We're going to be coming back in the new year with a little bit of a new format, new look to us. And then you could always, if you like Kings news, the LA Kings, they're also a depressing listen right now given their state of affairs. So you can listen to them at Kings Realm Pod.
AEG owned, too.
AEG owned.
Yeah.
So it's tough times if you're an AEG franchise. But that's it. Happy holidays to everyone. Hope everyone enjoys the little break. And hopefully when you hear me again, we'll have a new coach, we'll have a new GM, or we have a new GM. We'll be ready to rock.
Ready to rock and roll. All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com. Find all of our podcasts, all of our news articles. Get on that tracker, bookmark it, check it on a regular basis. I love seeing the page views, and you get information. It's a great deal. cornerofthegalaxy.com, click the shop button. You can go ahead and order our scarves. Those will ship and arrive before Christmas if you order them before Christmas. Basically, that's how it's going to work. If you get too close to Christmas, then you're SOL, and I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. I think that about does it. Lots of news. Glad you could join us. Again, stick around for the Dennis Kloese complete press conference. It'll come up after this. All right. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.